Hello! So, I'm doing some more videos. I'm going to move on quickly because I appreciate I ramble, but today I'm going to set out a sequence of videos, hopefully, which are going to double up. Doubling up in terms of the sensible revision is, i.e. when you can, you know, use certain pieces of information and apply it as broadly as you can, and to be aware of where and how you can use it. So I'm going to hopefully show you today that taking one specific area of what could come up in your drama exam, I'm going to show you that you can double up and give you some guided activities, hopefully, so less of me rambling, and so hopefully some engaging activities to get you to think about a certain category, which for the purpose of this video is going to be lighting, and I'm going to show you how you can use this information and apply it across the exam, and so it makes hopefully things a lot less stressful and a lot less effort for you, because you can make things much more succinct for yourself. You don't have to panic yourself about you've got to learn everything. Okay, this is my simple method of doubling up for this exam. So let's move this out the way. So, what I'm going to first of all start off with is sort of identifying really how this process of doubling up can happen. So, picture section A and section B in your mind. You know obviously that kinder transport is section A and section B is your theatre evaluation. Okay, so with the idea of lighting, in a previous PPE, I did set this as a question. So let's just go through the general skills that you need to do with every single sort of element of drama, really. So you need to be able to identify what these are in every area. You need to be able to say what they show. This is boiling down GCSE exam skill, and you need to be able to talk about, was it successful, and make some sort of judgmental comment. So if we boil this down, guys, into the exam, more often than not, and I'm not a betting person, you will need to be able to, within section A and section B, be able to identify specific features of insert category name here. So it doesn't have to be necessarily lighting, it could be costume, if it's as specific as that. It could be acting skills, it could be, you know, it could, I'm thinking on my feet here, thinking about design. A lot of this is going to be improvised, by the way, so apologies. But it could be blocking, it could be the relationships between characters, and that could be a feature of both section A and section B. So in terms of like your revision schedule, it would be sensible to think about, what if, could I answer that if I'm given it on both section A or section B? I've given some examples, I'm not going to embarrass myself and repeat them, okay? So can I identify that? Can I say what they are to show? Can I apply that to both kinder transport and to insert theatre production name here? So as I do this, we've just been to see a production of Antigone. So we're going to talk a little bit about, can I say what the thing I have identified at a specific time is to show? Or just generally, can I apply that to kinder transport? And this is the column really which has less significance to section A, but you can pretty much guess that it is definitely going to be a feature of section B. I.e., because it is a theatre evaluation, you saying, yeah, that did affect me as an audience member, and yes, that was successful because it made me realise, or actually that didn't work as well, and in fact I felt they should have done this instead, and this would have done this. That is the key to section B really only. This is my guessing hat coming on, that at the moment I cannot see that so much coming up as a requirement for a section A question. So we're going to come back to that later. Okay, so we're going to first of all work on identify. Okay, so this is just to warm you up, a quick kind of game. This is you engaging with your revision, and this is some key terms, some generic key terms to do with lighting as a sort of revision knowledge organizer. Okay, so I'm going to pick a simple game, so you can pause this along or you can skip this along. I've got basically some keywords which I'm going to put dashes for, and I'm going to do a sort of a very sort of lonely game on my part of Hangman, because I appreciate I'm just talking to a camera. So there's one keyword. There's not actually going to be a hang person drawn, so you're just going to have to go with it, okay? And gradually, there's no going to be embarrassment. There's not going to be anyone sort of to compete with, just yourselves, and if you get it earlier, then brilliant. If you don't, you don't, but then you kind of maybe identify some lights that you need to kind of know, and key terms that you need to know. And maybe some of these might seem nice and simple already. Trying not to go into the spaces of others. Okay, equally trying to count the squares, because otherwise it's going to get embarrassing. And so just, yeah, a little game with yourselves here. I'm going to put that word and hopefully remember what I've put here. So have a little look. So I'm going to go with the vowels first. So I'm going to go with A. This is where I remember. This is where you might get some of these. And I can't remember what I've put now. This is highly embarrassing. So, yeah, we'll go with E. Can't remember what I've put there now, but I'll come back to that, I'm sure. Have you managed to get any yet? Ah, I remember this one. Okay, I'm going to go with the I. Have you worked out any yet? This is where I remember. Told you this was improvised. Okay, so not helpful particularly at the moment. So I'm going to go with more common letters. So I'm going to go with an S. Okay, I'm going to go with an L. Oh, no, sorry. Hopefully that's helping. Gonna go now with a T. I reckon you can definitely get one now. Possibly another. I'm gonna go with a D. That's all you've got there. I'm going to go with a H. Playing along, hopefully you're identifying where these are going to go. If I can work it out on YouTube, because I am, you know, a bit YouTube not savvy, I'll try and work out where you can skip to if you have managed to, and put that as a comment. Okay, so I'm going to go with a G. Hurrah, you have one. Can you work this one out? Surely you can do that one now. So I'm going to give you that and tell you there's no other. Okay, so I'm guessing you've got this one, which means I need to tell you where the other F's are. There's a B. There are C's. There's a K. Good old friend there. There's a W. There's R. Okay, so last one. Hopefully you were able to identify all of those without too much bother and before I finish them. And yeah, do note the spelling of Fresnel. Yes, it's spelt Fresnel. That's because it is French. It is named after, we're going to call him Mr. Fresnel. And that's all I'm going to say on that. But do note the spelling. Note the spelling of gel is a commonly misspelt one. And I'm just going to go through and tick off for you guys in your head what each of these things are. It is not an exclusive list of lighting terms, it's just a good set, a toolbox if you will. If you can only remember these are quite relevant to both texts really, to both things that you will probably do. And there are more, and I do implore you to go out and look for more. But floodlight, less common. Floodlight, generally, if you've seen these on AstroTurfs, etc., they will flood the light with flood the stage with light. Even they are a strong light. They are not common. They are used to probably cause. They do cause a bit of pain on the audience. So they are used at extreme moments, possibly to mark moments. Okay, so this is me getting into the show category here. Gel. Gel are those little pieces of coloured plastic that you put on lights to make the light beam coloured. Okay, so if you want a blue gel wash, if you want a red gel wash, and thinking about what that is trying to semiotically show. Blackout. That old chestnut. Blackout, the thing that you are banned from using, but they do get used in productions. They are used in productions. A blackout is a very quick transition of lighting, a snap if you will, rather than a gradual fade down, and so that there are no lights on stage. It's not a black lighting, it doesn't exist, because black doesn't create light, okay? So it is a complete extinguish of all light on stage, and at a very quick pace. General wash, this is very common, used mainly by your Fresnel lights. Okay, so a general wash is a general wash of light on the stage, so that it feels almost naturalistic. This is when it's generally used, so that you can see all areas of the stage. There are generally no shadows. There's colour. It doesn't feel completely clinical. It's just supposed to feel naturalistic and like a daytime sort of setting. And a Fresnel is a type of light. So those things hanging up above your heads, whatever. Fresnels are sort of square ones. Fresnels are good general light givers. So those are the ones you use for general washes. They will give quite a soft beam of light. It's not a sharp beam, which is completely different to a spotlight. You'll actually be able to see the edge of the beam on a spotlight, whereas Fresnels sort of bleed out this light, if you will, and the Fresnels are more common, and you can put gels on them, or barn doors, bonus word there, on them, etc. Okay, and then you've got your spotlight. Your spotlights are to completely highlight certain moments, certain areas of the stage. Difference being, if that makes it not a spotlight, you could have a little person. It doesn't have to be a little person, it could be a person operating the light, and it sort of follows around the actor, or follows around a certain item maybe, or it could be electronically operated and it again follows. Then it would be a follow spot. So good few key terms there. That is identifying what they are. And now I'd like you to think about when. So, as a guided example, we've just done some work on identify, as identified by my columns earlier, in terms of building up the skills, which we can double up for our section A and section B. So what do we do with that? We've got now examples of particular key terms that we could use. Now, first of all, let's do the first part of doubling up and think about section A. Think about section A, and what I want you to do is, and this involves you getting involved and turning off and pausing the video and actually actively engaging with this as a revision resource again. So I want you to think of 3 different moments within the play text. Okay, so just give you a few seconds to think of those 3 moments, and maybe get a bit of paper, write them down, just identify for yourselves what they are. So it could be the beginning, it could be the journey of going on the kinder transport, it could be the moment that Eva is at the train station and she's looking for her mother, it could be whatever you want it to be. Okay, so 3 different moments, because in theory the exam paper could throw up any moment at all. I believe it's going to be kept vague. I believe it'll be kept less specific, but it could actually specify a moment, because remember, it is a multiple use paper. So I'm going to do an example, and I want you to imagine this question being thrown at you, and I want you to use your what if skills to apply it to your 3 different moments. And could you very, very clearly explain how you would do this? So I want you to imagine the question is, pick a specific moment from the play text that you are studying and explain how you would use lighting choices to communicate to the audience. Okay, so that's a made-up question, something that I've used the sort of syntax of the exams that we have so far, and it's something that I've come up with, okay? But it's a feasible style sort of question. And I'm going to say it's maybe for for a 4 marker, a 6 marker or an 8 marker. Obviously you do the sums, we're only doing 3 different moments here, but in terms of working out the amount of detail you would have to add in for a 4 marker, a 6 marker or an 8 marker. So I'm going to go with the idea of the opening. Okay, I'm going to go with the idea of the opening of the play where the 2 sets of times and the 2 sets of geographical regions are pretty much laid side by side as it is specified in the play texts. So I'm going to identify which of my lighting choices I would like to apply to this scene. So just to bring up that list again, okay, identify for yourselves for those moments which ones you would use. I'm going to try now a model for the beginning, which I have specified, how exactly I would use lighting to communicate meaning for the audience. So, firstly, I would choose to use Fresnels. I would have them cross-fading, which is a keyword that I haven't got on this list, but it would be used to help in terms of identifying the different locations and different areas and time periods. So I'd crossfade between stage right and stage left, and I'd crossfade Fresnels. Within the Fresnels I would have gels, probably of blue colour. I would not, as some of you do, say that I would have a black lighting. That doesn't exist, okay? The best way you can do that is having like a faded down lighting or a dim lighting, otherwise it's a blackout. So I would have dim lighting created by the blue gels in order to connote, to suggest, to show. Okay, I would use it to show the atmosphere at this moment. The atmosphere being indicative because Helga is her last day with her daughter. The fact that she is going to be saying goodbye to her in the morning, and the unknown, the sense of unknown. Therefore, I want the blue lighting, the blue gels, to suggest an atmosphere of foreboding and to foreshadow this fate and how she sees the future. Okay, so that would be an example of something that would probably be worth about 2 marks, because it's one clear example with a why and suggesting what it shows. So if it was a 4 marker, I'd do another example of a light and what impact it would have, i.e. like I said about the atmosphere. If it was for a 6 marker, I'd add another set and a why and explain why it would cause impact, another different impact. And if it was for an 8 marker, you do the math. So it's saying a type of lighting and saying what impact it would have at that moment and being specific, not just being vague or just use, you know, dim lighting. Well, what type of lighting? You've got to be specific. You've got to use these key terms. Okay? So, that's for section A. Now, we also need to think about, for this doubling up process, about what it shows in terms for section B. So, now, I want you to cast your mind to Antigone. I want you to think about moments in that play, in that production, of how they use the lighting. So again, identifying what and when they use lighting, specific moments that are memorable. I want you to try and come up with 5. So I recommend pausing the video and seeing, can you get up to 5 specific moments that use specific types of lighting. And hopefully you're back. So, now, I'm going to give an example. Perhaps it's not one you thought of, but I like to start at the beginning of things. So I'm going to use the example of what happened at the beginning prior to the performance. Okay, so as we entered the production space, we were greeted by, on the stage, the fact that there was a tiered stepped podium, which was very much lit, and this is where we come into the example of using lighting and not getting carried away with talking about set here. There was a single spotlight that was from above it was using quite a bluish tinge gel, and it was just a single spotlight on its own, and that teamed with the sound effects of like a dripping and an echoing as well. I'm not going to get go too far down the sound, because my question at this moment might be about specifically just lighting, okay? More on that to come. So, it was a single light. Now, we've got to get on to what this showed, okay? So, my belief, and it's okay for it to come up, there's no sort of written rule here, but it will make sense, is my belief is that single spotlight, which was faded down, being specifically from above, so being an uplit sort of arrangement there from in the angle perspective, I believe it was to suggest the affiliation with the gods and that sort of foreboding atmosphere. So the bluishness and the fact that it wasn't quite lit very well suggested a sense of not being able to see very clearly, and also this sort of sense of atmosphere. The bluishness had sort of connotations of a clinical atmosphere, of a sense of nothing particularly warm was about to come. The fact specifically that it was uplit as well, that's also suggests the positioning from the gods. This being a production that is very much about the sort of fate of the gods and hubris and going against their word. That was quite telling. I think it was also specifically, though, in its angle, foreshadowing this specific piece of set, which was the podium, which had a lot of recurring moments of use within it, but none of them were particularly positive moments. The two key players, the two key characters that used it were the actors that were playing Creon and Antigone, and at neither of those moments that came up that this was foreshadowing were they positive. So there were moments of arrogance, particularly with Creon as he appealed to the nation that he was in for his support, for supporting his laws and his will, and it got to the extent where it was his will against the gods. And also when Antigone was also appealing for support, and she knowing that she's from this doomed legacy and this doomed future as well. So in essence, this lighting was highlighting this as a significant motif within the play and foreshadowing and showing this impact from some other region, some other area, which is in this case the fate and prophecy of the gods. So there you have it. So that's quite a detailed example of what that showed, and I extended that a little bit, but essentially if you're saying what things showed or what they portrayed or what they connoted and you develop it a bit more, that's going to get you up the marks more and more and more. So more development, more recognition. On the other hand, furthermores are really, really going to help when you're answering a section B response. But this is what will separate the sort of good marks from the really, really good marks. And that is, at the end of the day, section B is called the evaluation, really. So you must have moments of evaluation within it. And in a nutshell, obviously that means, was it successful? This is you making a judgment about it. So the judgment can be bad or good, as long as you can back up your opinion, okay? You wouldn't just leave an opinion there and not support it. Otherwise, it's completely unfounded. You've got to sound assertive in what you're saying. So let me go back to my example of the use of the blue gel in the Fresnel and what that showed, etc. I would then, after I talked about what this represented and what this communicated, I need to talk about, was it successful? I believe it was. I believe it was successful because of all of these non-verbal signals and semiotics that this was passing to us, and it set that information up for us from the start. It wasn't contrasting, it didn't necessarily suggest something positive to come, otherwise that just wouldn't have fit with the performance. It's possible that, you know, you could have also had another light maybe lit from uplighting it from beneath. However, I think that that would have made the item, the set item, too important, as though it was some sort of authority, whereas because it was coming up from the height of the gods area, and because of that, and it cast those shadows down, I think it almost gave it a bit of personification of that it also was foreboding this as well. So I disagree with that uplighting might have been an effective thing, and it just left us with a sense of coldness, and it was appropriate and a fit to the atmosphere. Now, in terms of doubling this up for section A, I don't think you're going to need to talk about successfulness in section A. I think it will be solely relevant to section B. So, what you should do now is you should take your examples, your 5 examples. Could you stick it into a table? And can you fill in that column that says what did it show? And can you fill in an argument of bullet points as to why it was successful and why it had impact on you? So I will leave you with that, and hopefully that was helpful, and give me some recommendations if you would like more on this sort of area or anything else. Thank you very much.